This video is brought to you by the Oregon Trail. The Wolf Among Us was truly Telltale at their peak. I don't think I'm breaking new ground with that statement. Adapting source material that wasn't super popular in the mainstream, meaning cheaper licensing fees, making it a prequel, and choosing material that everyone is technically familiar with, but not in this setting, was a recipe for an instant classic. The Wolf Among Us is adapted from the Fables comic series, following fairy tales that we all learned growing up. We already know all these stories, so it makes for a very interesting, quick setup with this game, as we don't need to delve into their backstories. We can just get right into the action, and boy does the Wolf Among Us not waste a second getting there. These super simple notes are such a tone setter, quiet and understated, but feels like it's purposely holding back, just like Bigby. I can't say for certain why, but I like that last line, protects them from each other. Kinda goes off. This game's art style is freaking gorgeous. It's a cut above the rest of Telltale's library, I'd say. Though it follows the cartoony, cel-shaded style, this game is absolutely dripping in color. The neo-noir, Blade Runner-inspired color palette makes this a treat to look at. Our first shot of Bigby, exhausted, annoyed, concerned, we see everything he's struggling with in one simple shot.
Mr. Toad? Bigby!
I love that we don't waste a second getting into this world. Just bam, a talking frog. The Wolf Among Us, I'd say, is definitely best experienced completely blind. No prior knowledge of the comics or nothing. Constantly seeing how the fairy tales have been adapted and changed up for our modern world is always intriguing, if not downright shocking.
Bigby, they're bleeding me dry, mate. The quality of the spout goes down, but the rates keep climbing up.
I'll talk later about the Crooked Man as the main antagonist, but truly the real enemy of this game is classism. It's not all a black and white story in the slightest. Just about every character is defined by how they get through their day to day in Fabletown and is mired in gray.
Get out!
Bigby's non-reaction. This isn't the first time dealing with crap like this.
This is the last straw, Bigby. He has to go.
And there is the even subtler theme of the privilege that human fables have over the animalistic ones. He has to go, but the woodsman would never be sent to the farm as punishment. Not how Toad and Colin would be.
You got a shit memory, Wolf. That's not how it went last time.
I love how many of our expectations of these fairy tales are flipped in The Wolf Among Us. The big bad wolf is now the protector, and the woodsman is our drunk abuser.
Well, at least you're not dead.
Which I for sure thought he was upon first playthrough. Speaking of hard to die, let's talk about a game where it is not hard at all to. The Oregon Trail is a modern twist on the historic trail with all the trials and tribulations you'd expect. Ripped clothing, broken limbs, dysentery. You gotta manage all these things among your party. The coolest thing is that this is the official successor to the original game all those years ago. And before you set out on your journey, you pick each of your party members, who all have their own quirks and attitudes. Stock and choose your type of wagon and embark on a journey with all sorts of expected and unexpected things to follow. Like when I was playing, I just started my journey and a dude fell from the sky. I wasn't playing with any of that, so I just kept on walking. I won't spoil any more than that, but this isn't just a simulator, let me tell you. It's got a lot of wacky stuff like that, and charm, especially in the music and art style, which is a pleasure to look at and listen to. The Oregon Trail is available on the Nintendo Switch, Steam, Microsoft Store, Xbox Play Anywhere digital game, and now is on the Epic Games Store and GOG. To pair with that, there is a special deluxe edition coming to Nintendo Switch and PS5 July 18th. Along with that, the new DLC Cowboys and Creatures has been launched, adding tons of new content such as new journeys, characters, locations, and a completely new class in the cook. Right now, the Oregon Trail is 40% off on Epic Games, GOG, and Steam storefronts. So make sure to use the links in the pinned comment and description below and avoid dysentery today.
Feeling that?
It's more from me. He'll be fine.
I'll kill you, you fuck.
Even with an axe in his head, he's still not backing down. This is one of those moments where being completely blind is best. Fables being this durable makes Bigby's job easier and harder at the same time. We can smack them around all we want, but they just won't stay down. It's been almost 10 years since I played this game, so I was almost playing this blind again. This was a wonderful surprise, and I love how much The Wolf Among Us shows and doesn't tell about its world. We're shown Toad out of a glamour, we're shown Woody's durability, and we're shown the inequalities placed upon the fables in the town. Ooh, peep the sigil ring, setting up our detective story so early.
I feel like we've met before.
In one way, this is just establishing the history that all these fables have with each other, but also perfectly setting up the quagmire that is, was it Faith or Nerissa the entire time? Later, we hear Nerissa say, "You're trying to place me." Don't worry, we'll get into who I believe it was the whole time as we go throughout.
It's a little late for an office visit, Sheriff. I'll swing by your apartment.
And in a way, she was telling the truth.
I'll see you around, Wolf.
Not just a cute foreshadow to her dead f***ing head, but a hint that she's gonna be the orchestrator of this entire game's plot. I don't think they'd name this episode after her and make us doubt that Nerissa was truly herself if it wasn't actually Faith all along. Which brings me to this episode's title. Faith permeates the entirety of Snow's and Bigby's story. Faith in the justice system, faith in Bigby to be better, faith in Snow to run a fair Fabletown. This intro so has the sauce. You know I gotta win it. If this intro was on Netflix, it'd be one of those that you'd never skip. The colors, the music, seeing Wolf alone among a crowded city. It incites such feelings of melancholy and determination, both of which grow more and more with each episode.
Is there some sort of curfew I don't know about? What's with a third degree?
What's with Clementine invading my fairy tale game? If you don't notice, this is Melissa McBride from Telltale's Walking Dead. And boy, is it weird after 4 seasons of listening to her and having her play Beauty. But cool nonetheless. Feels almost like Telltale liked employing recurring talent back then when they used to care about their employees. I mean, what? The music of Bigby's apartment is, I hate to use the word again, melancholic. It's just the perfect word to describe where his character is at right now. And through this scene with Colin, we can see how much a toll being sheriff has placed on even the big bad wolf. You could be the strongest around, but being jacked probably isn't going to cure your depression. That one's for free, folks. A pig smoking a cigarette was not on my bingo card for this game. Taking Grimm's fairy tales, which were already pretty fucking dark, and making them rated M is freaking fantastic, and what should have been a more natural progression than Disneyfication. But I digress. Somehow, in this scene alone, Telltale is able to normalize and make me accept the smoking pig, which is a feat of my book.
Couple thousand more of these, we'll be even on that house you owe me.
So that's why you can just crash at Bigby's uninvited. Bigby has a guilty conscience, at least at the start. It's up to us to decide if we should truly be better or embrace the big bad wolf that everyone views us as. The dilemma on what kind of detective we want to be is honestly what I was wanting more out of the Batman Telltale game. So if you played Batman and wanted more control over that, Wolf Among Us has you covered.
That for me?
Nope.
Candor.
I thought we were all supposed to have a fresh start here. I can't change the past.
And that's another thing that's so fun with this game. Seeing how these fairy tales would truly react to their stories after the fact is really fun. We get a broad spectrum of how people handle their pasts here. We've got those who never change, those who long for the past, and those that want to be better, and everything in between. I think that's why The Wolf Among Us really resonated with people, was how true to life these fables were. We could all see ourselves or someone we knew in these characters' struggles. Trust me, I know what it's like to come home and just want to drink and you've got a freeloader expecting shots.
I don't know. How?
By being big and being bad.
By being big and being bad. Don't say that shit in front of people. It's embarrassing.
Okay, good. I'm glad Colin beat me to it because that was straight from Ohio, Big B. Did I use it right? I'm trying to stay up to date with my Gen Alpha slang.
Well, maybe if my throat wasn't so parched, I wouldn't have to keep talking.
Wait, that doesn't make
Just
sense.
give me a drink, please.
From super serious introspection to comedy gold of wanting some liquor, I forgot just how good this game is. Snow White wears a shirt with snowflakes on it. That's a win because, like, that's her name and she's wearing them. You get it. The Wolf Among Us is full of shock after shock. The game has a really good pace of bringing up and back down when it comes to balancing its crazy plot points and character moments. In more modern Telltale games, sometimes it feels like we're just spinning wheels. Not here, though. The ring being left in Faith's mouth further proves to me that it was Faith setting all this up. She would want her husband taken care of in this situation, and the ring points the duo towards him. All the fun artifacts from fairy tale lore is in here. The magic mirror, the stone of the sword, Cinderella's carriage. Seems the government here is wanting to keep as many magical items under their control. Sounds about right.
Do you understand me?
Yes, of course I
Don't
do.
interrupt me, Miss Snow.
You asked me a question.
Don't change the subject.
God, this had me roll and it still gets me when writing this script. Ichabod Crane was so wonderfully adapted for this game. In his own fairy tale, he's at odds with Brom Bones and fails to woo Katarina. Same could be said here with Bigby and Snow.
Because right now, I have half a mind to fire the both of you.
Yeah, her pimp.
Boom, y'all like that? I got it straight from the start.
Call Vivian right this minute and let her know I'm coming in early for my massage.
That little stutter, we all know he ain't talking about no massage.
How are you today, Mr. Bigby?
Golf buffkin.
I'm sorry, it was too funny not to pick. I did feel bad after a lot of my choices in this playthrough, and that's a testament to the writing. Often I was caught up in the moment and would immediately regret a decision.
Your impatience is callow. You're needlessly cruel. but have some respect for our history and rules.
The mirror always talking in rhymes must have been such a fun little writing challenge for Telltale. It's those little things that really build this world up.
I'm sorry, Bigby. I can only show you what can be seen.
Keep that in mind for someone we try to check on later. The score here in The Wolf Among Us is really freaking good. I wish they utilized these tracks in the big moments like the burning of the tree or the ripping of Tweedledum. Jared Emerson Johnson has a very distinct style of these games. He's composed for a lot of Telltale, having inoffensive, good, almost droning background music. But sometimes he hits, like with The Walking Dead Season 1 and 4, or the tracks I've pointed out here.
This is a disaster.
Back off, Ichabod. It's not her fault.
I don't need your help, Bigby.
This is the first time we see what Snow's going through in the game. In her own fairy tale, Snow White is a passenger in her own story, never having any agency and just has things happen to her and then gets the happily ever after through no effort of her own. She resents this past and why she has to come to be of service to those of Fabletown. We'll find time and time again her and Bigby being at odds as she refuses to take orders, accept his help, or listen to counsel.
Show me faith.
Through powerful magic, her whereabouts concealed. Unfortunately for you, these lips are sealed.
So if the magic is dispelled after the ribbon is removed, then why can't we see Faith's dead head or body? We're able to see other dead bodies through the mirror just moments later. This almost confirms for me that Faith is alive and it's Narissa that died and was glamored to look like Faith. If you guys have any other ideas why she can't be seen, let me know your theories down below the like button. That little reference to Cinderella right there. This whole scene of piecing together the crime is pretty neat. Then trying to catch Toad in the lie, even better. Really makes you feel like Batman, a sheriff. Seriously, this is kind of just a better Batman game than Telltale's own, which is kind of unfair because that game is a Bruce Wayne game.
A Tweedle, Dum or D. You gotta strip them down to their johnnies before you can tell which is which.
Is he implying that it's because one has a bigger dong than the other?
I'm sorry, Faith.
And why would Faith send a letter to Lawrence apologizing? The only answer is because she was setting up this plan to take down Georgie and the Crooked Man and had to fake her death to make it happen. And even if one person knew, that was one too many, even her husband. So she wrote this letter and left it with her skin as it would be found to be returned to him. And another hint is that she was preparing Lawrence for a life without her. Make sure to pay the rent, giving him a full belly and keeping his nose out of things. The goodbye part to me is what really gives it all away. All this planning couldn't have happened if Georgie just surprised killed her like we're led to believe.
You're doing a really...
Oh, they're falling in love. I also really love that Snow and Bigby's relationship is completely platonic and professional. Though there are hints of a budding relationship there, they never pursue it in the game, and it's all just implied.
Peoples who walk in through the back door like Bluebeard, we have all the time in the world for them.
Remember this line for later.
Now things are worse off than they've ever been.
I think there was a better way to put that, Snow.
Things are worse than ever.
Pop in and say hello.
Well, f***ing hello.
I love Holly, and no, it's not because she's a MILF. This sign is great. It's no wonder the Trip Trap is always dead when we're there. Also, the name of the bar is a reference to the fairy tale Three Billy Goats Gruff, where their hooves are described as Trip Trap, Trip Trap. There are two wolves inside each of us. One that wants to beat the woodsman off, and the one that wants to friend him up. Did I say that right?
I was gonna rob her. And the night I finally get up the nerve to do it, there you are. So, you were planning on robbing her? Yeah, her and her grandma.
Never meet your heroes, folks. We gotta learn our history so as not to repeat it, but not be so foolhardy to not scrutinize the source, or the ones that we prop up. Woody has been hailed as a hero all these years for stopping Wolf, and he's always been a piece of shit.
Holly's sister goes missing. No one gives two shits about her. Paperwork, waiting rooms, and that Snow White.
Oh, I love that Bigby stands up the moment Grendel brings Snow White into this.
I tell you, you've got a big mouth. Oh, it gets bigger.
This is some of the weirdest flirting I've ever seen. Grendel's design is really unsettling. He's touted to be gross and monstrous in his fairy tale. Though not a troll or titan, this is worse.
Don't worry about me.
You know what? I'm still into it. I love that Bigby always holds back, oftentimes avoiding the fight because he knows he'll win. Putting that kind of power in the hands of the player can become intoxicating. I slowly noticed myself getting more and more violent towards the end because it was fun to flex Bigby's strength. The slow rollout of Bigby's true form is handled wonderfully. Each time we think that's his final form until he goes full furry. There should be a scale in this world that grades their strength on what form Bigby has to transform into to handle him. This wound on Grendel's arm is reference to how Beowulf dismembers him in the tail. And instead, we are offered the opportunity to be Beowulf in the story and tear his arm off. I did kind of feel bad about this one. I drink to tame the wolf inside me. I swear someone somewhere earnestly has said that. This twist really tickled my ass hard. I was all over the place. I almost wish they went with this because, my god, their setup in episode 1 was enough for me to care about them being a thing, and then to pull this ballsy move? Oh my goodness. Well, what a way to cap off episode 1.
Mr. Wolf!
Jesus Christ! Yeah, I understand why we have the dramatic lights and wolf disassociating. Imagine if this was happening IRL with a loved one.
Do you f***ing know? Have you had a friend killed and their head left at your f***ing doorstep? No, didn't think so.
Adam Harrington turns in a damn good performance as Bigby. He's got that coarse voice that just screams, I'm too old for this shit, and puts up with it anyways.
I'm sorry. Just make it stop.
She'll be fine. It's just a memory wipe spell.
From horrifying mystery to Ichabod just goofing, this game has more 180s than me trying to decide to be good or bad wolf.
Thanks for bailing me out. Certainly.
Crane bailing out Bigby does a lot to making him not just our one-note, easy-to-hate, I don't want to say antagonist, because right now he's much more gray. Just the story's resident shithead, how about that? Every story's gotta have one. The Wolf Among Us had Crane, The Walking Dead had Ben, and The Last of Us Part 2 had Abby. It's a joke, they'll come for me.
I don't know why, but I'd like to know that she was, I guess, fine, I suppose.
Crane's entire character is about dealing with unrequited feelings and what we might do in response to that. And both his original fairy tale and here, Crane for the moment is seemingly genuine. We'd never know what he's really doing behind closed doors, and the fact that is so true so often in the real world makes this so realistic and good. In the worst way possible.
Just tell me what I want to know. It will make things a lot less painful for you, in theory.
Dude, excuse me? Lee, why you gotta be like this? Dave Fennoy is so good. After learning more about Bluebeard's tale, this is so freaking on brand for him, and honestly a little tame. He murdered every wife he had, literally kept their corpses in a dungeon, and where do we meet Bluebeard? In a dungeon, threatening to create another corpse. A nice nod to his tale. So why was Bluebeard allowed to stick around Fabletown? In the Book of Fables, we find out that Bluebeard has put his decapitating days behind him, so he says, and contributes, and a lot of his money to Fabletown government. He's rich, that's why, and honestly, that might be the most true to life thing in this game.
Hello, Bigby.
Oh, I love it. The performances here are all money. It is seriously such a shame that Season 2 is in development hell than canned. That trailer was straight sex, and these actors are having so much fun in their roles.
You were with me when it happened, dummy.
Snow White is a touchy subject with Wolf, and I love how we're seeing the angel and devil on his shoulder as he's considering how to respond. I know Ichabod being a saint is quite ironic, but you know what I mean.
Just put that away.
If you don't tell me who did this, I'll make sure you end up the same way.
Why doesn't this feel weird? I'm still not over it. The novelty of the setting doesn't wear off in its usual sense, and I believe it's because all these characters being derived from fairy tales is the icing on the cake for the story. It's not the main course. You take out all the fairy tale stuff, and we've still got a very interesting mystery with character relationships we care about. So because their fairy tale-ness isn't the main focus, it never loses its luster.
Anyone can see this isn't working.
Not often do I feel a desire to replay Telltale games, as the illusion really only works once for me. But with The Wolf Among Us, the difference between going full asshole killer and entire good cop is 100% worth the ride, especially because of how the ending trial can go. He honestly kind of looks like Lee too. I wonder if that was intentional with Dave Fennoy voicing him. And Snow being alive doesn't make the end of episode 1 feel cheapened. It really just enhances what was just shock value and raises the stakes to adding more questions and deepening how many levels our opponent is playing this game.
Almost lost you once.
I'm not yours to lose.
Snow makes such a good secondary protagonist in this story. Watching her deal with her past through her work with Bigby. To draw character arcs so relatable like these off fairy tales is just inspired. It makes me want to read more of the Fables comic books. When one piece of art makes you want to engage an entire other medium, I feel like it doesn't get better than that.
Anything?
I couldn't imagine how hard it is for Snow to watch Bigby roll an investigation check on her dead body. Glamours offer up some really uncomfortable options when it comes to storytelling, and Telltale doesn't shy away from it, as we see with Crane.
Did Dr. Swinehart ever get back to you about Faith?
No. He said he wanted to run more tests.
So this could mean two things. Either the glamour was so powerful it never wore off, or that Swinehart is in on it. He never followed up back with us about this throughout the game. Swinehart is one of the surgeons from the 3 army surgeons' fable, of which performed miraculous surgeries on themselves. If anybody would be able to have a remove spell, retain a spell long term, I believe it would be him. So I like to believe he's in on it.
We should really be regulating this kind of thing.
Yes.
This little exchange, I assume they were expecting more from Crane, but his response isn't too out of the ordinary. The direction does foreshadow his desire to not regulate them though, as he has a vested interest in doing so. Dude in the back bugging that he's about to get caught.
I was there, under the big blocks.
Why is Clementine here again? I love Clementine, but I can't match this voice with any other character. Funny note, nonetheless.
Did you know Lily? She worked here?
My lips are sealed.
This is the 3rd time we've heard this from different characters. By now, we're catching on that there's some sort of magic stopping them from speaking and adding even more to our mystery. Nerissa's legs look like a swimming mermaid, which is cute because she claims to be the little mermaid. Hans is the cutest. Dude always does what he's told, and things never work out for him. In the Book of Fables, we learned that he hopes to dance on stage one day. And let me tell you, I'd throw a buck his way.
You're trying to place me.
Pretty similar to Wolf asking Faith if they'd met before. With her story being that of Donkey Skin, he could have met her during those times, not knowing her true identity, missing her as Faith, and now is feeling confused that once again, Faith is in a disguise, which is on brand for her fable.
My name is Nerissa.
Which directly means sea nymph.
Hey, that's pretty good.
You're okay? I work the front desk.
The irony of Beauty only working the front desk isn't lost on me, and I find it so fun.
You're cheating on me! With him?
The big bad Beast has the cutest little man voice I've ever heard. Beast has the same slow transformation as Bigby. I would love to see him go Super Saiyan and watch them duke it out. Good on Beast for not full sending even when he believes his wife is a prostitute with Wolf. The Wolf Among Us makes it feel really justified to be a violent wolf. Time and time again, we be the bigger person just to be shit on right after it. It's a really thin line balancing doing the right things and abusing one's power.
It's a huff and puff.
I thought you were the only one who smoked that crap brand.
Cigarettes and their companion matches have been really big bits of evidence in this game.
He brought wine.
We kind of get enough info to figure out if this was Crane before the review. Well, this wine is kind of the only clue, but a clue nonetheless. You might not notice right away that some shots are through the mirror. The slow reveal of it is pretty neat and subtle enough to not notice it right away. Crane's obsession is quite unnerving, especially during this investigation. There are many things that can be said about this. The one I want to focus on is how Telltale took his fairy tale into the modern world. What would a coward do with unrequited feelings, with access to all the money to do so? Well, biblically accurate deepfakes is what we get. Crane covering his ass, not because he killed her, no, he's even more of a coward than that, because he didn't want to get caught being a creep. Telltale really leans into the coward side of his character.
Look, Holly, I know how this must...
No, you don't know.
I love how Snow parallels the opening cop trying to empathize with Bigby.
Ladies, gentlemen, invertebrates.
Is he talking about Nerissa? She's the closest thing to a fish, so...
Holly refused to let me see where she lived, so I left her and Grendel back at her bar.
Probably because Holly has that sixth sense knowing you're involved in her sister's murder. If he helped the Faith, then he has to know more about all this. You're already naked. Why are you going behind the changing? Telltale's saving some work, not animating him getting dressed.
You kind of enjoy it when things go wrong.
Why am I being called out right now? Ripping Grendel's arm off was quite fun, not gonna lie. Feels like Snow is talking directly to us.
That he has the stones to kill prostitutes like any common sex-frightened serial killer and not face a real challenge.
Ironic coming from the man that killed his wives. But he would know, right?
The Trip Trap is the better option to track the witch down. That has to be our focus.
Where's Rocket when you need him?
And a large assortment of morons.
Flycatcher might be one of the saddest characters in the game. The frog prince whose family was murdered, now nicknamed Flycatcher, in reference to his time as a frog. I guess the point of his modernization is showing how some will keep themselves busy after enduring trauma. And the dude is a naive sweetheart, just happy to have someone paying in mind.
Hold for BCW.
The only thing I think I could figure with this is Boy Cried Wolf. As for the mushroom, I have no clue. If you know, drop it down below.
It's the sheriff. Well, come on in, buddy.
You could be pals with the dude whose arm you ripped off as long as you're nice at his friend's funeral. Oh, and you get him real drunk.
Holly's asleep in back, but you won't be able to wake her.
Really?
Why did he say that like it was a challenge?
Whatever. It's all right. I'm too out of it to get into it.
I gotta use that sometime.
What a f***ing day.
Oh, that's gold. I love when they use the top left for
comedic purposes.
Either Greenleaf glamours into Rachel as a cover-up and is playing the long con with this picture, or she lost her daughter, and this is some weird, heartbreaking cope.
Mommy really doesn't let anyone play with that. Trust me, I've tried.
If Laura Bailey can play Jester, then no doubt she delivers as Rachel. Try as she might, I will always clock her in games.
Tell me where Crane is.
I ain't a fortune teller, Wolf. I have no heavenly idea where he went to.
And she plays Greenleaf as well, which is pretty neat. Talk about range.
Frankly, don't give a crap if she's afraid for her life.
You might notice Snow never curses throughout, and at her most flustered, she only musters a crap. Snow's got a tight lid up there.
Who can't afford the glamours from you come to me for help. Without them, where do you think they could go?
Don't give me that. You're making money off of other people's misery.
Snow here is quite tone deaf, completely ignoring the root of the problem and blaming Greenleaf instead of taking accountability, which is in stark contrast to what she was telling Bigby in episode 1 in the taxi. Goes to show just how much everything has been for her, and we're seeing her crack under the pressure.
Think I like being the old woman in these stories? The men are heroes, the ladies are whores.
Greenleaf hits on exactly why I think Snow is even more angry in this scene. She herself dealt with a hag who tried to murder her on multiple occasions.
Isn't there another way? She's a witch. Can't she just work for us? That way she'd be official.
Wow, that's actually brilliant. I've read stories of companies hiring people that can hack into their software. If they've got that much more of an understanding of your craft that they can dismantle it, why not bring them into the fold? Another example is LTT hiring the folks who were translating their videos and uploading them on Bilibili, instead of just taking them down.
What monsters are you? What horrible, evil, villainous, warped monsters are you?
Often we see governments stomp out upstarts in the name of the law or whatever. Like, you can't even have lemonade stands anymore. Again, it's what makes this so compelling because it's not the fairy tales that keep us playing, it's the real life parallels that we see time and time again.
But once this ring gets through, I'll know what's going on and this whole thing will be over.
On one hand, this benefits the whole town if he figures this out. On the other, he's only doing so because his ass got caught and he needs to prove he's only a disgusting creep and not a murderer. Crane, like Woody and the girls at the Pudding and Pie, are complex in this struggle and aren't just bad for the sake of it. They have their reasons. I love that we just slapped Crane here. He doesn't even deserve the full respect of a full-blown Bigby punch.
Crane, dear. It's Crane.
It wasn't my fault.
Ooh, Snow getting her hands dirty now. I think maybe we've rubbed off on her a bit. Don't make it weird.
Bloody Mary, that's it.
They got Bloody Mary up in this bitch. Is she even a fairy tale? Oh wow, would you look at that? She kind of is. I love this unwinnable QTE. We think that we failed and are gonna get a game over screen, but then it just keeps going and going, and we realize Bigby can take this on, and the hype sets in. And their faces just sell it, completely terrified. I bet the Tweedles got their guns from Herschel's farm. And then the reveal of his werewolf form, it's been built up so well that when it happens, we aren't even surprised, but we finally understand why Snow has been trying to hold us back this entire time. This power fantasy hits harder than so many other games. Oh, I love the confidence of Bloody Mary. She's powerful, yes, but she's also got the literal silver bullet to deal with Bigby. This decision was such a hard one to make at the moment, knowing the repercussions of it, but also, they just killed us, basically. I don't know how many of you chose to end his ass, but we can only be the bigger person for so long. I don't believe fear to be an effective motivator. I want investment. Killing Dumb was just that. People forgot what Bigby was capable of, and I couldn't pass up the chance to remind them. And they don't give us that much time to think about it. You're almost left to your gut to make this choice. This is one of those endings where playing it episodically was pain. I remember being poor and having to watch Uberhaxer Nova play through, and my god, that wait was agonizing. You know she's a bad bitch if even the big bad wolf is having nightmares about her. Is this the proper time to mention how much of a snack Bigby is? I mean, the hair, and the hair, and the hair. You gotta love it, right?
I think I should stay, at least until he's out of the woods.
I get it, because that's where they're from.
Miss White? Sheriff? Colin.
Swiney.
Oh, the irony.
Like that.
Pretty hard to kill.
Yeah, you were really f***ed up, man.
If you're gonna crash at your buddy's place, rule number 1, don't cockblock the booty call.
So, starting now, we do everything cut and dried, by the book.
Snow is very reactionary throughout the game when it comes to making her big proclamations. Rarely, if at all, does she make one decision from a level head. She almost watched Bigby die and now is trying desperately to find some sort of control by doing things by the book. She never had control in her own story and finds herself constantly overcorrecting because of this.
Again.
We need monsters to fight monsters.
We've got a real angel and devil on Bigby's shoulder right now. Ironically, it's Colin siding with the wolf who blew his house down. It's the scene that really shows, though Colin won't let Bigby forget, I believe he's forgiven some and sees him as friend.
So for that, you want to give him a handicap? Like the bad guys will worry if shit gets sloppy.
This is the exact reason I played a violent, vindictive Bigby. Do the ends justify the means is what's at the core of this scene, and it's what divides Bigby and Snow.
Huh? I'm a pig, not a mouse with a hat and a cane.
3 Blind Mice reference.
Kidding me?
If you would simply get a glamour.
Get a glamour? With what money? You think I can work? I don't even have thumbs.
It's almost like whoever decided to move it NYC after the adversary attacked wanted to keep certain fables disenfranchised. Who's the adversary? Why are they in NYC? That's all stuff outside the scope of this game. But there is so much untapped lore in this world that I would love to see a second season. It's why I picked up the comics and recommend you do too. They're pretty good.
Bigby's got an admirer. You always do well with the disenfranchised.
See, Colin gets it.
And better.
That might be the most realistic thing I've seen all game. Smoker coughing grabs a smoke. Snow's now wearing all black, either to denote her new status as Director of Operations or to mourn the darkest hour of this case.
And you can't take the ribbon off, or...
It's how Faith and Lily died.
A good mystery leaves just enough breadcrumbs for us to figure it out. The ribbons are such a clever idea. Around the vocal cords to stop you from speaking, a symbol of how the Crooked Man's control is strangling them. And my favorite is how the women are already dead. Even after the spell is broken, we're led to believe they will still die if it's removed. Goes to show how, when you get in like this, you're forever marked and affected.
Look around you. This isn't the way people short on cash live.
Look, we're used to a certain kind of lifestyle.
Keeping up with the Joneses can also happen by looking in the mirror rather than across the street.
Well, I've been delivering packages from there for a while.
Seeing how the Crooked Man can reach from Toad to the top echelon of Fabletown is the tipping point that reveals that the town is truly rotting from its core and needs systemic change. Sure, they want to live expensively, but why wouldn't they of all people be well off anyways? Which brings me to why the Crooked Man works so well as our final boss. Sure, he himself isn't very imposing and had very little screen time, which some might be disappointed in, but knowing that he's had a hand in every single detail of this game thus far elevates the hell out of him. Jersey almost looks like to be inspired by Les Gold. You know, Pawn Star from the show Hardcore Pawn. Jersey just eating Bigby's punch either shows how weak Bigby is right now or how strong Jersey is. Either way, I like the escalation of enemies that Wolf has to deal with.
What the hell are you doing? This is my fight.
These boys have history as well. In the Book of Fables, it's heavily alluded to that Woody is the one who cut off Jersey Devil's once wings. Woody's very prideful and might want to relive some history. But Jersey being a Wendigo is so freaking cool. I've always been severely creeped out by them and don't like that it talks. Real recognize real though. Bigby knows he can't play nice with Jersey and immediately buffs up. These boys have come a long way since the start of this game and since their history. It doesn't excuse him for being a horrible drunk, but it does show growth and promise that maybe with Bigby's approval, he could turn a new leaf.
Thanks. Grand.
Can one character go 2 seconds without mentioning Bigby's terrible taste in his own branded cigarettes?
What are you gonna do now?
We all got our roles to play, Wolf.
And some people just cannot change, or have been through so much trauma or made just one too many mistakes in their lives that they believe that they must be this way. Woody and Bigby are 2 prime examples of this. Woody believing himself to screw up drunk, and Bigby struggling if he's always going to be the big bad wolf.
That sick piece of...
He can't finish the sentence because at this point he can't even be surprised.
We'll have to wait. Just one moment, please.
Oh, always so respectful.
Don't go far, Sheriff. I'd like to have a few words of my own with you.
Oh yeah? Take a number.
God, Bigby has got some of the best one-liners. Here's another one I love that I didn't mention.
I'm the lapdog, huh? Fetch. Don't worry. I did the right thing.
Are you sure? Because he left looking pretty happy.
Oof, the right thing to Snow was to freaking crush him. When she said, by the book, she meant it.
Wait a minute. Someone's watching.
Her power is all about seeing people through a mirror and murdering them. So of course she'd know if someone was just peering through. Lucky for us, we had an off switch. But more interestingly, her being in this game at all and the Crooked Man's right hand. The Crooked Man helping Fabletown puts a mirror up to its structures, forcing people like Snow and Bigby to take a good look at what if they're doing is just. Bloody Mary is almost always an omen of death to come, so her inclusion states that the end of Fabletown as we know it might be coming to an end.
I don't recognize the door, but that's the Crooked Man symbol on it.
Hold on.
The way they've adapted the Crooked Man's nursery rhyme is pretty neat. First of all, the name of episode 3, A Crooked Mile, is ripped straight from the poem. And also, in that poem, he finds money on a stile, the entrance to animal pens. Then paid a crooked cat to catch a crooked mouse to then live in a crooked house. For them to take the 4 lines of this short poem and create an entire character after the idea is just fantastic. The Crooked Man uses his money and influence to herd all the fables, many of them animals, into his crooked house, i.e. Fabletown. But not before working with people like the Tweedles and Bloody Mary to get at people like Beast and Beauty, exploiting those further who've already done so to themselves. The Crooked Man preys on weakness, and it's why he hadn't gotten to Bigby, Snow, Woody, or Holly. So Tim actually appears in every episode, and I'm sure you never noticed him. Shows just how good the Crooked Man is at gathering intel. He's in line in episode 1, Bigby's cab driver in 2, in 3 he can be seen in the limo towards the end, and now we get confirmation he's working with the Crooked Man. It's funny that the boy who cried wolf is happily working with the biggest wolf in sheep's clothing in this story. The Crooked Man tries to act like he's doing a service that the government couldn't provide, and Tim, after being shot down so many times by other people, finally relents and works for a man he surely knows does terrible things. Once again, the Crooked Man exploiting someone's weakness.
It's all right, Tim. I shouldn't have expected the sheriff to give you respect enough to do your job.
The Crooked Man is a manipulative mastermind in this game. I love how he has such a calm, commanding demeanor. He's gotten this far not through a single bit of his own physical prowess, which is a direct contrast to Bigby.
Everyone in Fabletown has a role to fill. You just have to pay attention to what they need to help them find it.
Again, we're hearing that theme of roles creep back up. Everyone's view on it is different. Bigby doesn't believe in him as this is supposed to be a fresh start. Snow believes that everyone's role should be what it's supposed to be in this new world, i.e. by the book, and the Crooked Man helps them find it for his own personal gain. Here we see the Crooked Man's fable immortalized in stained glass, almost as if the story is him pulling himself up by his bootstraps, something to inspire others. To not have shame for what one's role is, but to embrace it unapologetically. The Crooked Man's design is very on the nose. His body, just like his name and his desires, can't hide who and what he truly is.
I'm here for one reason, and it's not to eat your food.
Really?
Oh, I love the subtext of that, really. Bigby is there to take him down, taking Crooked Man's food from him. That one line shows just how smart and clever Crooked Man is. Oh, Georgie's smoking Huff and Puffs. Blink and you'll miss it, but we're getting enough details fed to us to figure out it was him that murdered the girls. I love it.
Perpetrated by an employee of mine. It's a very unfortunate bit of business, but I promise you that the matter will be dealt with internally.
Crooked Man is giving me some serious Gus Fring vibes, and that's nothing but a compliment.
You're just gonna let him do this?
These two jokers be like,
yeah. Not murder.
Just go with him, Georgie. You're gonna sink us all.
What's wrong with you people? You're really gonna sell him out just like that?
Yeah. I do apologize, Sheriff, but I think it's best if you leave now.
The Crooked Man has a great tactic of indirectly stating what he believes the power dynamic should be between him and Bigby, saying that he'll handle things, calling him sheriff, saying they're cooperating, and that the issue will be resolved internally. And why shouldn't he? He's held all the cards for who knows how long.
Why negotiate when you can just decide?
A very big lesson that we can choose to heed or not when it comes to the trial. We are offered the exact same words when defending why we killed the Crooked Man.
I'd like to say it was nice knowing you, but I'll be glad to see your insides turned out.
Don't speak so soon, Georgie. The f***ing chances that Bigby finds his exact fit on some random roof. I love that Telltale didn't care a lick how to solve the issue of Bigby tearing his clothes transforming.
This is the original. The girl with the ribbon. I'm sure you've heard the stories.
The Wolf Among Us does a fantastic job at grabbing even the smallest of stories and adapting it to something so much bigger than what we thought it could possibly be. Using what was a story to scare children and turning it into something so incredibly dark. The perfect way to keep your girls quiet on the job. Once again, attaching it to what we might experience in the real world. The Book of Fables is a much needed resource in a game with this many characters and this much lore. The additional context found here is almost necessary to understanding some of the characters like Bluebeard. Check that out. Looks like Faith is upset with Nerissa. Now, I'm really reaching for just one photo, but maybe Faith actually wanted to kill Nerissa, which takes care of the why she wouldn't want to hurt her friends angle. Bloody Mary's true form is so unsettling. Seems Telltale's going with the version where something tragic happened to her, so she lives her life tormenting others. It's also neat that her true form is hideous compared to her glamour. It's just like Fabletown is at the start of the game. Mary's final power is being able to replicate herself. I liken this to her using any and all reflections she could find in the Foundry. The only thing that could take down the wolf was a tried and true gank, and that still doesn't even work. Somehow Bigby's final form as just a basic ass giant wolf is more badass than anything else prior. The pure simplicity of it gets to me. And the fucker is huge! Finally we get to see what it's really like to face the big bad wolf. And the dude's ultimate is blowing down the house. This is the best payoff ever. It's a cute detail that Bigby has to take another breath for his win. You know I love me some center framing.
At least for the time being. You will bring me back alive.
It was right there where I made up my mind on killing him. The confidence was just straight conceited, and after the high of becoming the big bad wolf, I couldn't let some normie talk down on me. What does that say about me? I'd rather not go down that road.
But the hero. Because those are two very different things. You're smart, I'll admit that.
The crooked man knows not divulging more info than you need is almost always the smartest play. So I decided to kill him just because I wanted the most drama possible. If you let him live though, he makes a great argument for himself, and affords us the even better option of ripping his head off in front of everybody, which you know I would have chosen. I love how many options we have of dealing with the crooked man towards the end.
Holy shit.
I didn't think you had it in you, Big.
I'm glad at least one character is all in on Big B being the worst.
What evidence do we have? We never had anything concrete.
This is the exact argument that the crooked man brings to his own defense. It's interesting to see just how alike the Fabletown government is to him. I really love just how he uses the systems of this government to his own advantage. He knows just exactly how to manipulate things to not incriminate himself. I normally don't talk about the other choices, but this one is too good. The Crooked Man being the main villain works really well for this story, as his villainy isn't anything you can easily point to and say that bad. Yeah, the murders are bad, but what about Bigby's? Due process exists for a reason, and no matter where you fall on the spectrum, it's really fun to have this game let us go all the different extremes exploring it with Bigby.
Okay.
Snow's right. This is disgusting.
Oh, it's much worse than that.
What, are you guys buddy-buddy with the Crooked Man all of a sudden?
But what I love about killing him is that it's Bigby on trial, and we can clearly see where the battle lines are drawn based on all of our previous choices. Telltale isn't always the best about how many different paths they offer to us, but this ending has a lot of different permutations, and it's why it's remembered as one of the greats.
But I didn't do shit wrong, and I got my f***ing arm ripped off.
That was different, Gren.
Same here. He just hit me for no f***ing reason.
And all of our choices throughout the game come back to haunt us in the end. Not a single choice throughout didn't have some sort of consequence. And now Bluebeard walks in through the front door instead of the back like Snow mentioned earlier. He still skips the line cause, you know, money, but progress. We start and end with the sheriff and Toad. You know I love me some bookends.
You're still wearing that thing.
Nerissa doesn't remove her ribbon, a symbol that even though things are better and taken care of, the trauma we endure sticks with us.
We're just trying to protect them.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. That yeah seems a little sus. Almost like Bigby accidentally just gave her an alibi she didn't think of and just ran with it since she's actually Faith and using this grim opportunity to take down the Crooked Man.
He's telling me this. Faith walked in, and I had to watch while Georgie...
And that's another detail that seems a little sus. It was said that the murders were planned and Georgie had taken care of it, not worrying about witnesses. He seemed very confident that he was in the clear. Sure, their lips were sealed, but it seems a very sloppy time to kill Faith, if he was already planning to do so. This whole scene feels like Faith tried to cover her tracks even more so, but as I'm sure you all know, when you give too many details to cover a lie, it starts giving people alarm signals.
People like us get forgotten all the time.
Such a true and heartbreaking line.
When we suffer, we do it in silence. And the world likes it that way.
And another one. I don't have any groundbreaking analysis on these lines, but Telltale's spitting some facts.
You're not as bad as everyone says you are.
The callback that threw us all for a f***ing loop. So this whole video, I've tried to explain why I believe Nerissa is actually just a glamored Faith, but in the end, when you look at every single detail, there is just no confirming which is true. Which is why I think this ending is so freaking brilliant. Telltale constructed this mystery in such a way that both are complete possibilities, and that we're never going to truly know what happened. I've yet to come across any concrete proof.
Hide her beauty so she could escape his kingdom.
They used to call me the Little Mermaid.
Did Dr. Swinehart ever get back to you about Faith?
He said he wanted to run more tests.
And it just freaking ends like that. A massive cliffhanger where we all expected there to be a second season not too far around the corner. My last piece of evidence why I think it's Faith glamored is the mere existence of this ending. Throughout playing, there isn't much time given to the idea that Nerissa isn't who she says she is. Then to have the game end like this, casting everything we thought we knew to doubt, confirms it for me. Unless Telltale just wanted to fuck with us with this ending, which is entirely possible. I think it was just a way to get us to rethink everything about this story Nerissa if we hadn't got it yet. And if it was just to fuck with us, then well played, Telltale, because even 10 years later, nobody knows the truth. The Wolf Among Us is the best Telltale game. There's a big argument between this and The Walking Dead Season 1, but I just like this setting so much more. To bring all these fairy tales that we grew up with and to mature them in a grounded setting is just so novel that I can't help but love it. The mystery is well paced, it never feels contrived or lagging. We're constantly making progress with it, and it all perfectly comes to a head with the meeting of the Crooked Man. Every setup was paid off one way or another, regardless of your choices, and to have consistency in character like that in a choice-based game is impressive. The whole Narissa was really Faith all along angle is the one thing that's not wrapped up, and I kind of like that we're just never going to know. To get to draw our own conclusions and look back at everything makes us feel like the detective now and not just playing as one. I would love a season 2, but this one still is such a good standalone piece. Telltale games are hard to break down as I can't cover every different permutation and even get into every little thing or else we'd be here for 10 hours, so I implore you to play this game for yourself. I really was learning a bit about myself as I was playing through, seeing how I felt after making different decisions, regretting some and loving others a bit too much. It's something I've always loved about choice-based games. When's the last time you played The Wolf Among Us? And do you think Narissa is who she really says she is? Because if you look, the motherfucker doesn't have a cut on her leg because she had an oversight when creating her glamour. Just saying. Anyway, guys, drive the speed limit, drink some water, and love one another. If you like choice-based games, you can see what I believe to be the king of them all with how many branching paths there are on the left or more Telltale on the right. Pizza, everybody.